Hello. So I have not done any brandy videos since like the beginning of March, which is just not acceptable. Let's fix that. All right, today we are going to get nerdy. We're going to talk about Folle Blanche. So the first part of this is just going to be a review of a pair of Folle Blanche based brandies, Armagnacs in this case. And then the second part, we're going to get nerdy. Okay. So both of these are Armagnacs. Folle Blanche, briefly, we're going to get into it more, is regarded as the original grape of Cognac and also Armagnac. The problem is that it was mostly supplanted after phylloxera, particularly in Cognac. In Armagnac, you see more plantings of it, which is why I got these. You do occasionally see Cognacs going back to use the old Folle Blanche, but it's much, much more rare. So today it's just going to be Armagnac. So both of these, 100% Folle Blanche, they're actually both bottled at the same strength too, of 49%. So the difference is in the producer and in the year. So this Baraillon here, Baraillon's an old favorite of mine. I have nerded out about them many, many times. I will link those videos up below. This is a 2011 Folle Blanche though, so quite young. This was bottled October 19th, 21, so probably about 9 years old. This is a D'Espérance, Domaine D'Espérance, which I don't think I reviewed them under their own name before, but a lot of the projects from PM Spirits, Cobra Fire Evil Force, among others, use these guys. So this is cask number 64. No real indication of when this... Oh, wait. Yes, there is. Somewhere on here there's a bottling date. Yeah, bottled July 2022, so probably circa 19 years old. Yeah. All right, let's get into this. Let's get some notes on the table for these guys. You have got a 9-year-old versus a 19-year-old, so this should go badly for the Baraillon, but we shall see. Baraillon, of course, owned by the Claverie family. Let's go. Oh God, get out of here. It's just not fair that Baraillon can be this good, especially this young. Prunes. First of all, lots of dried fruit. Prunes, raisins, figs, molasses happening. Like lighter style molasses. Some orange peel, lemon peel as well. Then like mud, nice mud, and just a lot of like freshly picked field flowers. And that's the kind of thing I tend to associate with Folle Blanche based Armagnacs, is that kind of floral character. We'll see if we get it in the D'Espérance too. Black pepper. There's some almost flower candies going on here. There's some like Turkish delight. Maybe just rose water. No. It's Turkish delight. Sarsaparilla, old tea bags. Kind of a lemony, like almost a lemon ice cream note. I've been going to Trader Joe's and buying their lemon ice cream recently. It's actually pretty good. As a lemon lover. Yeah, just annoyingly good and annoyingly complex for something this young. A lot of things going on, but it's the flowers I'm kind of latching onto. Again, I tend to think of that as a hallmark of Folle Blanche. Here we go, on the palate. Once again, just annoyingly good. Black pepper. Kind of rusty penny kind of thing, but nice. Figs, prunes, once again. And the flowers, again. The lemon orange thing, also. The lemon orange is kind of more in the background here. A lot of stuff from the nose is just carrying through. Mud, again. Kind of some musty furniture happening. Tea bags, a little bit of peach creeping through. Like a hair bit of like stewed peach, but if you like dumped a whole bunch of flowers into your stewed peach. It's quite a long finish. It's actually very intense as well. Just not fair. Absolutely not fair that Baraillon can put out something this young that's this good. The Terriquet folks can also kind of play that game, but it's a different style. It's I think of Terriquet as more fruit driven. This is not, even though they're both Folle Blanche. This is more driven by kind of the flowers and the grunginess, which I absolutely appreciate. My kind of style, honestly. All right, moving on to the D'Espérance, which has 10 years on the previous bottle. This is cask number 64. I don't know what that means, but it's cask number 64. On the nose, much more clean and fruity. But beyond that, kind of not completely dissimilar. Do you know fig molasses? It's a thing you get in like Middle Eastern cuisine, I think. But it's here. Prunes again. Some kind of dusty old books. But again, the overall effect here is much cleaner than the Baraillon. And like a big old stew of like peach, nectarine, stone fruit, even a little bit of cider apple in there. Something else. I'm not getting a whole lot of flowers in this one. There's a touch of floral, not nearly as much though. Oh, and a little bit of like hot milk tea, Hong Kong style milk tea. Showing a bit more wood and a bit more age than the Baraillon, but not as much as you'd think. On the palate, there's more difference. This is just, it's not just only more clean, it's much more fruity. Again, fig molasses, all the stewed fruit, that whole list of stewed fruit. Prunes, fig molasses, real molasses. The milk tea thing, that's back. But then there's this kind of like, the finish is this kind of sweet and bitter thing. And the flowers kind of roll on in. That they weren't present on the nose, but on the back end, on the finish, suddenly it's like flowers sprouting up everywhere. This is fun. I'm gonna pour a hair more of this actually. It's a real contrast in styles. Put it like this. It's a battle of tenors. Domingo, Dio. That's a difference. Someone out there get that? Okay, hopefully. Let's go. Did I add water to these? I don't think I added water to these. Oh well, pretend I did. And I kind of like Domingo. Like he does some. If you ever want to listen to the Brahms leader, his songs, go listen to Domingo's recordings. They're very, very, very good. Impressive range. But am I reaching for that more often than I'm reaching for Rainbow Rising? No, I am not. I am much. Ronnie James Dio is much more my jam. All right, let's stick our nose back into the Baraillon here. With water, the flowers actually become more prominent. They were already pretty prominent before. And there's like this kind of lemon cream thing coming through. I mean, it's like a lemon potpourri thing, but it's very earthy at the same time. If that makes sense, if that's possible. Again, it's just for something that's 9 years old. This is annoyingly good, and annoyingly complex. All right, let's see what happens on the palate. I mean, it's young, a little brutal, a little raw, but I mean, everything is here. Like, it's really, really, really floral now. But you're not just getting the flowers, you're getting the mud that the flowers is growing in. So take those flowers covered in mud and shove them all into your mouth, and then add some citrus, add some orange, add some lemon. Add a bunch of oak chunks and put it in your mouth. And a little bit more peach too. The peach is coming out. All into your mouth. Hard not to be impressed by this. I will say that the Terriquet, the 8-year-old I reviewed, is kind of hangs with this. But this brings such an earthy, grungy character that I kind of prefer this a little. 87 plus. 87 plus out of 100 for the Baraillon 2011 Folle Blanche. And we move on to the D'Espérance 2002 Folle Blanche. And now with a splash of water. On the nose. I mean, mostly kind of more of the same, which is not bad in this context. If anything, it's even like prettier than before. Nice. It smells, this is going to sound bad, but it smells almost like Armagnac syrup, if you made a syrup out of your Armagnac, but nice. On the palate. It's very pretty. It's very nice. Not a whole lot of development from where it was, but that's fine. It's beautiful. It's very good. But for in terms of absolute quality and my own personal taste, I think this loses out by a hair. 87 points. For the D'Espérance 2002. And now let's talk a little bit more about Folle Blanche, now that we've gotten the raw numbers out of the way. I find Folle Blanche fascinating because, if you want to drink a wine made of Folle Blanche, you would think you would go to southwest France, to Armagnac territory, right? And indeed, you do see it bottled there in Côte de Gascon blends. Côte de Gascon is basically geographically coterminous with Armagnac. But for the most part, where you're going to see wines made from Folle Blanche, especially 100% Folle Blanche, is further up north. in Loire Valley, which is a little bit surprising because you might think, well, wait a minute. Southwest France is, basically a Mediterranean climate. It's fairly warm down there, and Loire Valley ain't. But think about it. Okay, so if you know anything about Loire Valley wine, you should know. You're thinking of Sancerre, right? Way far to the east, continental climate, very cold. If you know a little bit more about Loire Valley, you might know a little bit about the red wines, the Chinons, the Bourgois from a little bit further west. Still very cold. But the Loire Valley is a huge wine growing region. It goes way out west, all the way to the Atlantic, basically, all the way to the coast. And along the coast, you will find the city of Nantes, or Nantz, if you're British. And around that area, you will discover a couple of interesting wines being made. Muscadet is the most prominent one. If you haven't tried any Muscadet recently, you should. But they also grow a ton of Folle Blanche. And this is a bottle of it. This is the Jo Landron Atmosphères. It's always a different blend on this every time I've seen it. But this particular one is 100% Folle Blanche. Now, that is not what you usually get. Did I bump the mic? Sorry about that. Usually, the wine you will see made entirely from Folle Blanche is something called Gros Plant. Now, Gros Plant has a little bit of a reputation. It doesn't really get outside of that region very much at all. You'll see, maybe if you're living in San Francisco, someone is bringing it in. But I've been trying to get a bottle of Gros Plant here in Chicago, and no one has any. So, here's the thing. This is the stuff that people who are too cheap to buy Muscadet buy instead of Muscadet, which tells you something considering how cheap Muscadet is. Folle Blanche. The viticulture of Folle Blanche, it is very, very susceptible to mildew and rot. Basically, it clusters very close together. So once it gets ripe, and you have a very kind of wet day, the rot and the mildew comes in, and your crop is ruined. So what have the farmers of Folle Blanche traditionally done? Well, they harvest early. I mean, so it's basically a game of chicken. Like you're waiting for your grapes to get ripe enough that you can harvest, but you don't want to go so far that mildew or something is going to wipe the whole thing out. So you harvest early. And since Folle Blanche already has pretty sky-high acidity as a wine grape, if you harvest early, you're going to get even higher acidity and lower sugar levels. And that's interesting because if you look at the kinds of wines that are made to be turned into brandy, it's not traditional drinking wines. No one is, turning, 14.5 Cabernet Sauvignon into brandy. It wouldn't be very nice. When it came off your double pot still set in cognac, for example, it would basically be too high in alcohol. What you want is something that is low in alcohol and very, very high in acid because of the magical combination of alcohol and acid gives you ester compounds, fruity aromas, right? That is exactly what you're getting when you're forced to harvest early when you're making Folle Blanche. And combine that with the fact that Nantz, if you're British, was really the first big port for international brandy shipping. If you go back and read old British literature, even like Melville or something, you will see references to right good Nantz, which is just brandy from around that area. And you start to think, well, I know Armagnac was making brandy earlier than any of these guys, but did the Nantes area and specifically the unique viticultural requirements of Folle Blanche kind of set the stage for what we would now consider best practices in sort of making the base wine for your brandy? I find that plausible, and it's one of the reasons why I'm interested in Folle Blanche. Anyways, what I've got here is a bottle of 100% Folle Blanche sparkling wine. Jo Landron is a great producer. His muscadets are very, very nice. And he puts different batches of this out every so often. And what I'm curious about is to see if any of the qualities from this are sort of alike to the brandies. Kinda, actually. So what I'm getting is some light floral notes and a lot of lemon. The alcohol level on this is actually pretty reasonable. I think it's 12.5%. So Jo Landron was not harvesting this super duper early. Some minerality. Lots of lemon. A little bit of a hint of breadiness, not too much. I imagine this sees a little bit of lees aging, but not a whole lot. Really, most of this is kind of citrus, particularly lemon, but also a little bit of orange, which is also in the brandies. And the flowers. On the palate. Now, this is going to be a high acid wine. Obviously, the acid isn't going to come through on this because acid doesn't come through the still. What will come through the still is the esters. Ripping. Oh, just lemon and lemon and lemon and more lemon. Oh, that's great. But with some kind of floral elements along the side. And also some really nice nuttiness happening in this. Kind of a touch of almond. Mm. Dribbling on camera, that's not great. Extremely refreshing. This would go great with food. There is I was expecting a little bit more minerality with this. I was expecting some seashells. It's not really. There's a little bit, but not too much. The commonality I'm seeing with the brandies is that kind of citrusy note. And again, the flowers. And you know what? I wasn't going to do this. It occurred to me. Let's make a Folle Blanche carbone. See what happens when I add a little bit of my Baraillon to the sparkling wine. I have no idea what this is going to do. I haven't tried this before. Ooh. So the flowers have kind of doubled their game. And the oak is coming through very intensely, but nice. So it's like a little bit of, I hate the term baking spice, but baking spices, a little cinnamon, a little clove, a little nutmeg. And the dried fruit is now there on the palate. I think I prefer the wine on its own, but this works. This totally works. Kind of the same story, bringing out the baking spices, if you like, the dried fruit. And pulling down the acidity just a tad. The change is more evident on the nose, actually. This works. This is fun. So, I don't know how to end this. I am enjoying this wine very much, and we're going to have dinner pretty soon, so I will enjoy the rest of it then. But basically, so that's the conclusion of my ruminations about Folle Blanche. Both of these brandies are very, very good, and in general, I find Folle Blanche based brandy to be extremely interesting. And this wine is pretty good too. I've had multiple batches, multiple versions of this, and it's always very solid. This is probably the one with the most sky-high acid of the bunch, but they're all good. I won't give it a rating because I don't rate wine, but, you know, it's nice. I guess that's it. Thanks for watching, and cheers.